And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If it was methane, it would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. Keep red. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Hello everybody and welcome to another attempt of this wonderful Kuiper launch that we have talked so much about already and we will talk about again today. My name is Adrian Bile. I am today's host for Kuiper mission as we apparently continue to rotate hosts for this mission in hope to find the one that is not cursed. We'll see if I'm the right choice for that, but we are doing what we can here to find at least like non-jinxing on our side. With me today, however, is a person that already has been on some of these Kuiper attempts, and we once again bring him in here. Alex, how are you doing?
Well, it's Kuiper Falcon 2 day again. But yeah, it might be me. I mean, I've been on all 3 attempts so far. This is the 4th attempt. I don't know. We'll figure it out today, I guess.
Absolutely. We will talk all kinds weather today because, as always, that has been a thing with Kuiper. I can already spoil you. It's probably not the launch weather today. But we also have D and Max in the field today again, as they have been continuously for these Kuiper attempts. And let's hope today they can actually film a launch. And behind the scenes, we have Carson operating today's stream. So there we go. And we also, I think, have Gage behind the scenes today running some cameras. So there you go. That's your whole overview. And we will attempt once again. Alex, let's recap here for everybody who maybe is turning into day for the first time for the Kuiper mission. What happened so far and why is this still on the ground?
Yeah, so we went on Thursday. The weather looked iffy. This is like talking about August 7th, right? The weather looked iffy, but it seemed still good. The launch, though, they never entered actually propel and load sequence. We didn't know why. We speculated at the time that it was the weather, but SpaceX came out later and said that it was further vehicle checkouts that they needed. Falcon 9 went horizontal, and then they worked on it on Friday. They were also going to attempt a launch on Friday, but they didn't even go into launch operations because the Falcon 9 was still horizontal by the time of the launch window. So Friday, no go. Saturday, they went into it. We went through all the propellant load sequence and then a hold because of the weather at the launch site. Yesterday, on Sunday, they went again into the propellant load sequence. They went into pretty much almost the last minute of the count, and they called a hold again because of recovery weather. So instead of the weather at the launch site, the weather at the drone ship downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. And so today, we have no idea if, what's going to come up now. Is it going to be, again, the vehicle? Is it going to be the weather? Who knows? But hopefully none of it comes up today and this launches on time 55 minutes and 20 seconds from now.
And Alex, we should talk about the weather here because there are some concerns, right? Like looking at the evaluation forecast, we have some items we are watching, right?
Yeah, as you can see there, that's the weather forecast for today. They have a 25% probability of violation, which, we usually like the favorable weather conditions, the go conditions, right? So it's essentially 75% of favorable weather conditions, with the 2 concerns being cumulus cloud rule and anvil cloud rules. But the one that we are looking here more closely, if you will, is those additional risk criteria. So in that 25% probability of violation, they don't include certain things like, upper level winds, recovery weather, solar activity, etc., which are more down to the rocket itself and the launch operator procedures and operations and whatnot that sort of are separate. And so they have that little window to the right where it says additional risk criteria. So apart from that 25%, then you have this series of other concerns that they're looking at. And for example, upper level wind share is low. That's great. Solar activity, also low risk there. But the booster recovery weather has moderate additional risk. So that is one thing that they are probably going to be looking at today for this launch attempt. And so just like yesterday, that booster recovery weather criteria, that risk was low, and they still scrubbed because of that. So we'll see what happens today. Hopefully we don't get any holds, any more delays or anything like that. And hopefully it goes today on time. But it is a concern, whereas yesterday, which it did aboard the launch, it was not there. Like, it was just low. It was not even moderate or anything. So we'll see what happens today.
Absolutely. And this has been quite a journey. Again, we'll watch this. And as Alex said so well, these 25%. So in theory, they have a 75% chance to launch today. However, this does not include the potentially biggest risk criteria, which is recovery weather, which was the reason that they were standing down yesterday. So, yeah, we'll experience this in the next 52 minutes. I mean, from the viewpoint we have here, that's looking quite nice. This feels decently good. But yeah, we'll probably check in with a person that can judge this way better than me. Max, do we have you?
Good morning, everybody. How do you have me?
We have you 5x5, Max.
Fantastic. Yes. The good old Mark 1 eyeballs are telling us that so far, based here at the Kennedy Space Center, looking over towards Slick 40, the local weather is looking as good as it has for about the past week or week and a half or so, certainly since Thursday and the very first launch attempt. Certainly better than Sunday morning's or yesterday morning's attempt as well. But pending all going well, or at least tolerable in the LZ out in the Atlantic Ocean, we're hoping to see Falcon 9 skyward today. And certainly we would like to, because it has been a very long few days. I feel like I need one of those Take 5 candy bars, because today is quite literally Take 5.
Absolutely, and that's a thing like that people really should appreciate here, and I want to point out and thank you and Dee for this, because basically every of these days means, Max, you have to get up early, you have to set up there, right?
Yeah, and honestly, even with every day it's pushed, of course, kind of like we see with missions to the ISS, the launch window moves left by about a half hour each day, or earlier in the day. So that means in turn that we have to wake up earlier. And I think this morning I woke up at 4:45 or 5 a.m. local time here on the east coast of Florida. So a rather painful hour, even though at times that is when we are seeing Starlinks get off the ground. But usually for those, we either pull an all-nighter or we have a decent nap in. But it's very painful waking up that early in the morning. But hopefully it will be well worth it today.
Absolutely, and we hope, of course, this gets out of here before Vulcan comes into mix, which potentially is just a few days away from now, and will, of course, make things easier. Make things not easier. That's the correct way to say that sentence. Sorry. Already, any spottings of Vulcan, Max, or is it too early to say?
Well, we don't have an exact timeline from ULA other than what they post on either X or Instagram, wherever they're active, on when Atlas or Vulcan, in this case Vulcan, may roll. But we are expecting a roll in but I would imagine by noon or 1 o'clock at the latest today Eastern time, because we are heading out to the pad for camera setup early this afternoon, or I should say later this afternoon. But roll to the pad this morning is what we generally expect, and that it would certainly be on track for what they have done for prior missions. But we are very excited to see Vulcan fly, but we first want to get Falcon off the ground with Kuiper first.
Absolutely. And Alex, there's a question I kind of also want to throw to you here because with Vulcan also coming into play, and that's of course a USSF mission, is there some sort of range conflict between Falcon 9 and Vulcan, and will one of them get potentially priority or something?
Well, it depends how much of an overlap there is, right? I believe the window tomorrow for Vulcan is in the evening, or yeah, it's in the evening. So in theory, they could in theory launch Kuiper. Like if it were to delay today, they could in theory launch Kuiper tomorrow morning, and then have Vulcan in the afternoon. It's actually early evening, but yeah, it's late in the day. It's quite a separation there. But yeah, that's the mission, USSF 106.
At the window.
Yep.
So we have some things to cover here coming up. Kind of excited for Vulcan to fly again. And of course, see these beautiful engines in action. That's gonna be fast. I mean, this is. Go ahead.
I was gonna say first time flying with the 4 SRBs with Vulcan, so that's gonna be interesting to see.
That's gonna be nice. That's also like late in the day. So, Max, are you expecting any good, like special, potentially almost jellyfish kind of territory, or is that too early?
If the weather behaves itself, it is launching maybe about 5 or 6 minutes before sunset. So something about Vulcan in launching either at night or right around sunrise or sunset, because Flight 2 was just after sunrise, and tomorrow's flight should be just before sunset. So we are expecting some great contrasts, some great colors, certainly from those BE4s in contrast with the 4 solid rocket motors. So I would imagine we are going to be treated to a visual feast tomorrow. May still be too early for a jellyfish, but I have been proven wrong multiple times before on Falcon. But the sun will still be up, so we'll have to. I think first and foremost, we want to make sure that the weather is good, and the weather has been very unstable here for the past couple of weeks. So I think it should be improving as the week goes on, but getting everything off the ground as they are scheduled is probably the best.
Absolutely. And of course, today we also have to talk Kuiper, but I kind of wanted to start the broadcast with this because, it's a very interesting launch this week. And I think it would be wrong to not talk about it. Alex, let's talk some Kuiper. For the people who are not aware, they have potentially some people here have only watched Starlink so far. So do you mind giving us a quick overview, Alex? What's Kuiper? What is SpaceX launching today?
I'm really curious how many people in the chat have been for the previous 3 attempts, but I'm going to explain it anyways. So yeah, Kuiper is just Amazon's own satellite internet constellation, very similar to SpaceX's Starlink constellation. There are some differences, of course, in the sense that the satellites are a little bit smaller in size, right? They are also, at least the little bit that we have been able to see of them, they don't look to be anything like flat packed or anything like that, like Starlinks. They do have, for example, inter-satellite links with lasers, just like Starlink, so that allows them to be able to cover regions over that don't have any gateways on the ground, like essentially in the middle of the ocean, for example, because then you can pass along the signal in between the satellites instead of having to bounce back on the ground every time that you have to go through all of these satellites. So there's some similarities, there are some differences. There are also going to be fewer of these satellites on this at least the first generation of Kuiper satellites. It's only going to be just 3,200 of them, a little bit over 3,200, whereas Starlink, even the first generation was close to 4,400 of them, and the second generation is close to nearly 30,000 of them. So, it's fewer of these satellites, but in general sense, it's, a lot of the things are very similar. Again, different shape. You can see there that the deployer mechanism from the first flight on Falcon, the Kuiper Falcon 1 mission back last year, last month, I should say, not year, last month. It happened pretty much 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so yeah, that's pretty much the rundown. They also orbit at different altitudes and inclinations. Starlinks, most of them are 53 degrees and 43 degree inclinations. They are usually between 500 and 520 kilometers. The direct-to-cell satellites of Starlink orbit lower. These orbit a little bit higher, closer to 600 kilometers. These particular satellites, the ones that are being launched today, are going to a 51.9 degree inclination. So that's more or less some of the similarities and differences. Of course, there are other things as well, like Kuiper is still in deployment. There's no commercial service yet, whereas Starlink has been in commercial service for years now, of course. And so, those are all of the other little differences, I guess, that you could talk about, like the user terminal, etc., which will probably not be on topic for today because this is the launch, not the. I don't know. Someday, I guess there'll be a live stream where we talk about the user terminals. I have no idea.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gonna be interesting over time. Like, of course, it's too early with Kuiper at this point to do this. But down the line, I'm looking forward, especially from a consumer side, to have 2 of these constellations running, or even 3 or 4 in the future, to compare them, right? And to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of certain service providers, like we do with normal ground-based ISP at this point. And I mean, we already use Starlink sometimes here at NSF, and maybe in the future, NSF will also use Kuiper, right, Max? Like, who knows?
I mean, maybe. I guess we'll have to wait and see, and time will tell. But at the moment, Starlink is pretty convenient and easily accessible for most people. So however, I do hope that Kuiper does come online soon, and that they are able to meet their launch criteria by July of next year. So they have quite the task ahead of them if they want to do that. But time will tell.
Absolutely. Time will tell indeed. And time will also tell us in a few minutes from now if this rocket is getting fueled, Alex. We, of course, are now at 42 minutes to launch. When do we expect to see signs that SpaceX is indeed committing to today's launch?
Well, nowadays we have the clock on the SpaceX website, which apparently, from what they have said, it is connected to the real one. So when it stops, for example, then the real one has also stopped and things like that. So if we go through T-minus 35 minutes, which is when propellant load starts, and it still is ticking down, then we can assume that perhaps they are indeed going for propellant load. The other indication, of course, is actually seeing the tanks getting frosty. That should happen a few minutes after propellant load, because it's not like, it's not an instantaneous thing where they start the propellant load and suddenly the tanks are already frosty, because there's like a transfer line and everything, and so all of those need to get filled up first. And so, yeah, roughly 9 minutes from now, if they're indeed going for propellant load, we should see that frost on the tanks of the first stage, because that start of propellant load, of course, begins with RP1 load on both stages and liquid oxygen load on the first stage. So we should see that liquid oxygen frost appearing there on the tank. Although, as we've mentioned in the past 3 attempts, or at least the 3 attempts that we went live, because the one on Friday, we didn't even get to that point before it got delayed. We mentioned that this is a first-time flyer, right? This booster is flying for the first time, B1091, and that means it doesn't have any suit on it, which usually helps us being able to track the progress of the frost. But there's still the condensation. Florida is very humid, right? So that condensation, that mist appearing outside of the tank should be very visible, and hopefully will get us an indication that they are indeed going for propellant load.
I was just going to say that, and I can confirm it is very, very sticky out today still.
Totally on brand for Florida. No offense.
something travel postcard something.
And that's just insert conversations in our back channel in this conversation. 101, copy paste. Anyway, let me thank some people here, starting with Byteford with a $25 super chat saying, "Good morning to Max, Alex, and Adrian. Been here every day for this launch. Hugs for today's launch. I hope really that today this will bring us luck and we really see a rocket launch. I would wish it to the field team. I think they would really appreciate this." Then we have a question here from JS Web Music asking, "When do you think we will see New Glenn launch again?" That's an interesting one because, I mean, so far, did we ever get an update from Blue Origin besides when they said spring, which obviously didn't happen?
We did get, well, Dave Limp, who's the CEO of Blue Origin, did publicly say that that they were targeting mid-August, which quite obviously I don't think is going to happen. But there hasn't been any sort of official update beyond that. But we're hoping to see Flight 2 by the end of the year. Currently, they have some hardware out over at LC36, as visible from one of our Cape cams over on Space Coast Live. And hopefully today, if the weather keeps behaving itself, we may have a better look from the air. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But we're hoping by the end of the year, probably mid Q4 at best case scenario. I'm thinking, but I know Blue wants to fly at least one more time before the year's out. So if I had to put money on it, like if I had to bet on it, probably late November, early December is my guess.
There we go. I probably agree in that time frame. I hope a bit earlier, but we'll see. And of course, time will tell us. And we are excited to see that thing fly again. And then I have a question here for Alex. Because like yesterday, of course, recovery weather was a problem. Jennifer Gates is wondering, how's the weather out at ASOC's location? Could it cause the thing that has happened previously without naming the thing that has happened previously?
Well, I have no idea, to be honest, right now how the weather looks like out there. But from what I've been able to gather, at least from the last few hours or so of sort of data that we have had, it's just that it looks still very stormy out there, that it's still very cloudy. So we'll see if it cooperates for today. Right now, though, it seems like they may be trying to go for the opening of the window. I still have not seen any holds or anything on that on that clock on their website and everything. So hopefully in 2 minutes they start that propellant load and maybe they make it on time for today. But yeah, we'll see. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, and I was checking some buoy data and also wind data around the LZ before we went live. And last I checked, the swells were around 1.5 to 2 meters, which is about 4.5 to 6 feet, which isn't awful, but it's also not very comfortable, especially if you're one of those out within the SpaceX recovery vessels. But it was about the same as it was yesterday. But yesterday, the storms were a lot more active directly over the drone ship. And I think Gav also posted about it, and that there was pretty severe lightning in the area. And you don't want a rocket, even though it doesn't have a lot of fuel left in it, flying through lightning, because that could cause a loss of vehicle should lightning strike the vehicle or it create its own. Lightning rules apply to both the launch site and the landing site, so even if they're different. So we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't look terrible. I think it's safe to say that they have flown and landed on drone ships in worse weather, but there is a pretty nasty system south of South Carolina right now, right on the coast, which I imagine is not making the seas very comfortable for those out there on the recovery cruise.
Absolutely. It is going to be interesting. Again, so far from everything we can tell, this is, by the way, from yesterday. From everything we can tell, this countdown is still on. And if this countdown is still on, the launch director should have verified go for propellant load at this point. And we should be about 2 to 3 minutes away from propellant being visible to our cameras. So let's hope this thing is really still on. And again, there are still some lightnings and some storms out there. It's gonna be probably a a situation of them also watching this all with great interest and then making a decision on if they want to commit for today. Because of course, Alex, we know they have cadence goals at Falcon 9, and these kind of storms and these kinds of like multiple day problem stand downs is something that really threatens their cadence, right?
Yeah, I mean they are targeting 170 launches, which, if you do the math, is about a launch every 2 days. And they have already scrubbed multiple times, and they have moved the launch by 4 days because it was supposed to be on the 7th, and actually they had another Starlink launch on the 10th at the time, right? So they were planning on this sort of 3-day turnaround time from Slick 40. So that 4-day delay from the 7th to the 11th, then that means about 2 launches that they are not able to do now. And not only they have delayed this one from the Cape, but they also delayed a Starlink launch from Vandenberg by 2 days as well. So, yeah, that's not great to meet their goal of 170 launches by the end of the year. I don't know. Maybe they make it up in the later months of the year. Right now, they are still a little bit under 160 launches, on track for that. Roughly 157 right now. But we'll see if they can improve that, especially once the hurricane season is gone and a lot of the the weather in Florida is always not great. It's always tropical, right? Around the afternoons, but it gets a lot more calmer when you get to the fall time and winter time. So hopefully, as we move out of the summer in Florida, things get a lot better. So we'll see what happens with those.
Absolutely. And we now are at 33 minutes, Alex. And
1 minute to go.
We are now looking at the bottom and hopefully see some condensation fairly soon, because if we don't, that's not the best news, right? But with this, of course, very
So
new
far.
booster, it's going to be harder to spot. Let's see here. I don't see anything yet. I found something that I thought was something, but it was just my screen needing some polishing. But not seeing any condensation so far.
Should be in just a few seconds from now. It's usually around T-minus 32 minutes.
I think it's that one bush that's like right on the spot, like right at the bottom of the LOX tank. That's normally where we see the first signs of vapor, and it's like right in. Oh, vapor!
I see it.
We see vapor. We are now in propellant load, folks.
Absolutely wonderful. That means they are committed to a certain launch spot at this point, right, Max? They cannot adjust anymore. That the top left, that's our countdown at this point.
Correct. At this point, if they wanted to, I guess, delay into the window, which goes until just after 9 a.m., they would not be able to because of the propellants that Falcon 9 uses, in that both the LOX and the RP1 on the first stage are super chilled to increase their propellant density, but Falcon 9 does not have any sort of tank insulation. So that propellant is constantly warming up, and they want to avoid as much warm up as possible. And that is why once they go into prop load, no matter how long the window is, they have to commit to that T0 once that process begins. So they are now committed to the T0 in just over 31 minutes.
Absolutely, and that is great news we want to hear here, which means they at least have some confidence that there should be good weather today and they can launch. But of course, we will hear a bit later from their launch director if they're actually going for it. And Alex, that weather decision really came super, super late yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was right before 1 minutes to launch. Like, they didn't even go into startup before saying it. Of course, they did go into it, because what they said on the countdown nets was, we're gonna hold because of recovery weather, but the countdown will proceed until T-minus 30 seconds, and then we'll do the hold. Normally they do that because they try to continue with the count, in the sense that they gather more data on the behavior of Falcon 9 and the countdown sequence and things like that. And so they normally, when they do that kind of stuff, when they know ahead of time, like with plenty of time that they're going to be holding and everything, then they try to go and just do that at T-minus 30 seconds, because that's usually sort of their sweet spot, where all of the propellant is loaded, all of the sequences have gone through and everything, all of the automated checks and all that have already proceeded, and then they say at T-minus 30 the 3 hold word, and then they stop the count. But that's usually standard procedure for them, at least. But it came very, very late. Yeah, it happened right before T-minus 1 minute.
Absolutely. It was quite a roller coaster so far with the Kuiper launch here, and we will now see. Go ahead, Alex.
When I heard the call out, because the thing is, it was past T-minus 1.5 minutes, so at that time the only call out that I was expecting was gas closeouts, which is usually like T-minus 1 minute 20 seconds or so. But then I heard the launch director, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, as soon as I heard the launch director, I knew it was not good, because you hear the launch director give the go at T-minus 45 seconds. If the launch director comes either before or after that point, like if it takes too long for the launch director to give the go, or if it is a call out that is very early and things like that, then you start getting worried. And I got worried, and yeah, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness. I think you can actually hear me on the live stream say that.
Yeah, it's like it's a time where you don't expect also the launch director to talk. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's
let's hope
not
for
the
better
moment.
today.
Yeah, I mean,
28 minutes
I'm
to
up.
go.
I was not on a Kuiper launch so far on an attempt. Maybe I'm the lucky charm. I'm just saying.
Maybe I'm the one that is making all of these aborts and everything. So who knows?
I'm just saying. I mean, after this, I'm not sure who we next rotate in the crew to make sure we are not jinxing it.
At that point, honestly, you just throw it in Space Coast Live and see if it works.
Yeah, like at what point do we have to do like very like basically try everything we can? We should make a shirt like I was there at the big Kuiper Scrubs 2025. This feels a bit like USSF 44.
Did that one delay a lot?
No, what was the one that delayed a lot? The Delta.
USSF 44 did delay a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, USSF 44 was Falcon Heavy in 2022, and NROL 44 was the Delta 4 Heavy that scrubbed for months.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, but the 44s are apparently cursed.
And that was a Delta 4 Heavy, Adrian. Come on. It's your favorite rocket.
I just confused USSF and NROL. I'm sorry. Something secretive in the fairing, Max.
Always.
Don't look payload. We'll word like that. Anyway,
here.
Yeah, like this. Please don't look into in this payload fairing. It's totally an agriculture satellite. Let's see here if we have any more questions. Oh, this is one for Alex. When in the countdown does the FTS become armed for flight?
Usually it's enabled at T-minus 1 minute at the same time as as they transition into so at T-minus 1 minute they do the startup sequence, right? And that is when the ground computers hand over control of the count to the onboard computers on Falcon 9. That, I think, is also when the FTS is enabled for flight.
There we go. There's also a question we just started to answer a bit, but we can also talk about a bit more. Gabriel is wondering, which rocket was delayed the most during its launch? I mean, there are some maiden launch rockets that had some pretty long attempt campaigns.
Artemis 1. Excuse me.
Shuttle had a lot of scrubs in its lifetime, but yeah, SLS also had quite a lot as well.
I mean, also like some of the smaller launches, we just had the Ares 1, not Ares 1. You know what I mean?
You mean the Ares from Australia?
Yeah, the Ares from Australia, not the cursed Ares.
Yeah.
That also delayed quite a bit. But to be fair, both had about the same successful rate on their test flight. And so that's another I can think of. I mean, we had rockets that were delayed for months. It's gonna be hard to say this. There's probably rockets that have been delayed years in the past because of testing or ground issues.
I mean,
Arianespace.
we were waiting for Falcon Heavy for how long?
Yeah, to be fair, Falcon Heavy was also quite a delayed campaign.
And do we also forget New Glenn? Cough, cough.
That's
like
Starship.
The problem is even when is it no longer a development delay and when is it a launch campaign delay, right? Like, what is even the cutoff? And I guess the question that would be interesting is which rocket was the longest on the pad before launching?
That's a really good question. At least here in the US, I want to say it was Artemis 1. I honestly don't know, but that's the first one that comes to mind, and also the scars from Artemis 1 are never going to go away. It's burned into our brains for eternity. But I'm sure there's other rockets around the world that have been on the launch pad for a long time. I know Ares in Australia was out there for a long time. But I don't know. But I want to say Artemis 1.
Yeah, it's probably a good bet. I'm thinking right now. It's the problem when you're hosting and also thinking. But yeah,
don't think. It hurts.
Yeah, I will stop think. Thomas here is wondering, what is the goal with Kuiper? Is it a direct Starlink competitor? Yes. I'm sorry, but like the goal is basically to provide LEO-based internet satellite connections, and that's very close to Starlink as well. Now the question is, Alex, why would SpaceX launch a direct competitor to Starlink?
Well, just like with internet service providers here on the ground, you can have multiple companies delivering the service. And the thing with satellite internet is that the way that you deliver it to the consumer, it's a lot easier from a marketing standpoint, because the satellites, they are up there, right? But you only have to ship the terminal, right? Whereas if you want to deliver service via ground internet, right, you have to deploy the fiber feeds and everything. Like, you have to do a separate, different sort of type of ground infrastructure, I guess. You still have to do ground infrastructure, though, if you are deploying an internet satellite, but that it's usually essentially with gateways, for example, to connect to the local internet networks and things like that. It's a bit more nuanced, if you will. There's also another benefit as well, which is that you have a lot more potential customers because of how simpler it is to deploy the customer antennas and things like that. You can, in theory, just deploy customer antennas anywhere in the world and connect anyone in the world, essentially anywhere, right? Which means every single person in the planet could be a potential customer. Of course, there's going to be a bunch of them that already have ground-based connectivity with fiber and all of that. And so if you remove those, how many do you have? You still have billions of them that do not have access to fiber. And they could get, similarly good low latency, high speed connectivity with internet, which means the potential customers for Starlink, Kuiper, and all of these are potentially billions of people. So with that, why wouldn't you do this? If you had the money to do it, like Amazon has, to deploy satellites and get gateways out there on the ground and things like that, it's quite a lucrative market in that sense, because you have so many potential customers. Like, it's not like right now Starlink has only like 6-7 million people. There's still a long way to go until they reach billions of them.
And lest we forget also, Falcon 9 has also launched 3 missions for OneWeb, which is still technically a Starlink competitor, even though their constellation is a lot smaller. And those OneWeb missions took place in late 2022 and then early 2023.
Absolutely. And you two have just had an amazing long conversation about this that I can now ask you, Max. what is this vent that just popped up on the Falcon 9?
So what we're seeing now is the famed T-minus 20-minute vent, or the big vent as it is otherwise called. And this is a visual indicator that SpaceX is flowing some liquid oxygen through the transporter erector to chill down the propellant lines inside of it in preparation for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading, because you don't want to flow any sort of cryogenic fluid through any sort of plumbing or material that is not at or near the same temperature, because that could cause all sorts of issues. This vent will continue up until about T-minus 16 and a half minutes, and then once it stops, that is our second visual indicator that stage 2 liquid oxygen load is underway. And it is very humid out today, as you can see, just from how, I guess, vivid's the wrong word, but just how thick that vapor coming out of the TE is. And there's also a bit of a breeze over at Lake 40 as well, because it is flowing north from this perspective. But it is still a beautiful morning here in Florida. The haze is not too bad yet, although it's supposed to be a pretty warm one today, like it has been for the past about month or so. So I imagine the heat haze will get worse. But at the moment, it's not too bad. But a visual indicator of this T-minus 20-minute event is certainly a good sign that things are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel like at this point I feel fairly confident to say that rocket and launch weather looks pretty good. Correct me if I'm wrong, Max, but the one item we of course cannot check is recovery weather.
It's the best it's been since their first launch attempt on Thursday, at least here locally at the launch site. Obviously, it is, I think, it may be the worst it's been over at the LZ, but so long as there isn't super threatening lightning, they may attempt to launch and land on the drone ship today, because they have landed in worse swells than this. Although between 5 and 6 foot swells at about 7 seconds, a 7-second interval is still not the most comfortable. But if Falcon can do it, then they are going to try. But a lot of the issues that they've had with landing Falcon have been on their very first flight, because I guess the onboard avionics haven't necessarily had enough experience to learn how the vehicle flies. And because this is a Falcon Heavy center core, it's not to use the cliche saying, but it is quite literally built different from its tank thickness, the Falcon 9 Block 5 interstage compared to the Falcon Heavy interstage, the grid fins on board, and of course the landing legs, which we have not seen on a Falcon Heavy center core since STP-2 back in 2019, which was the third launch of Falcon Heavy. They have only ever landed a Falcon Heavy center core successfully once, and that was on its second flight, Arabsat 6A, but it was unfortunately lost at sea and tipped over off the drone ship after that. So this, I guess, would technically be the first successful recovery of a Falcon Heavy center core, although it is currently flying as a single-stick Falcon 9. Technicalities aside, keep your eyes open, because first flights of Falcon 9 boosters can get a bit spicy at times.
Absolutely, it's certainly an interesting and very high stakes mission, because from what we expect, the Falcon Heavy center core might be a bit more expensive and in general more hard to produce than a normal Falcon 9, because of all of these reinforcements it has to also be able to carry these side boosters. Quick mention of that, Alex. Why are we talking about that this is a Falcon Heavy center core?
Well, because it is. So it's built essentially to be a Falcon Heavy center core. The only thing, of course, it is that it is flying as a Falcon 9 booster today, because it's not like they build them and suddenly it's always going to be like this. One of the benefits of Falcon 9 is, for example, the engine section and the intrastage. You can swap those; they are bolted on, so you can essentially just remove those, and you have the tanks of the booster. But then you can put another engine section or a different intrastage. We've seen this in the past, where we've seen certain boosters getting old intrastages from older boosters and things like that. So they swap those at will. The engine section takes a little bit more time to do that, but it can still be swapped. In this case, the engine section, it is the same as the one that you will see for a Falcon Heavy center core, so they have not changed that. But some of the hardware that will be used on a Falcon Heavy center core is not there. For example, the hardware to be able to mate the side boosters to the center core is not there, of course. You do see, of course, if we were able to see that right now, you will see, for example, where that hardware eventually will go, but not the hardware itself, for example. Other than that, it's just equipped, as I usually say, it's a Falcon Heavy center core in Falcon 9 clothing, right? Sort of like a ship in Wolf clothing or whatever. It's the saying. So that is essentially the way that it's working today, where it's just having some of the hardware of the Falcon 9. That's why they can fly it in Falcon 9 configuration. They cannot do the opposite, though. As you were saying, Falcon Heavy center cores need that extra reinforcement for the side boosters and things like that. And a Falcon 9, when it is produced, a regular booster does not have those reinforcements, so they cannot do it the opposite. They can, though, reuse those as side boosters, and they have done that in the past.
There we go. That's the quick explanation on the difference between a Falcon Heavy center core and a side booster. And again, there are some difference we just talked about. So yeah, gonna be interesting. Also, technically, if they recover this, it will be the first recovery of a Falcon Heavy center core.
I already said that, Adrian. Shh.
Sorry.
The funny thing is, I talked about the connections at the bottom to connect to the side boosters. So there's like two on each side, 180 degrees. There are two connections where the pushers and pistons are to connect to the side boosters. But then there's also in the middle where two of the hold down clamps will go on a regular Falcon 9 booster. Instead of that, on the Falcon Heavy center core, they have an extra connection. It's like a bridge that connects to the side boosters, but it doesn't have any pushers on it. And what happens is after the side boosters separate, all of those connections swing back up, except for that one in the middle. And what happens is that what happened on Arabsat 6A is that they had an Octograbber, the robot that they put out there on the drone ship to be able to hold onto the boosters. The thing is, in order to hold on to that central thing in the middle on both sides, they needed to modify the robot, and they had not done that at the time. It was not complete that sort of transition and those modifications. So unfortunately, they were not able to hold the booster in place, and that's why it tipped over. If the following one had actually landed instead of having failed that landed, the one for STB2, then they could have recovered it, because now at that time they had finally converted the Octograbber to be able to hold on to the boosters. Today, though, it does have the regular hold down, so it's not equipped with that bridge that they put for Falcon Heavy center cores. So it is just a regular one. It can use a regular Octograbber. So hopefully, once it lands in about 20 minutes from now, 12 minutes to launch plus 8 minutes to the landing.
Jinx.
So,
I mean,
so once that happens, hopefully they do that.
if this thing fails landing, I want to have a compilation of Alex saying that while the booster in the background like crashes into the ocean. Just
Adrian,
saying.
You should know better than anybody else that commentator's curse is a real thing. Shh.
I mean, can they static fire and rain?
Yeah, probably.
Boom. We're having some fun here. Bite for it gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much, Bite for it, for the very early morning support here. And also Bite for it once again with a $10 super chat saying, please just go. I mean, yes. People are also spamming, oh my god, now, Max.
Good.
B1062 also saying, testing the new @NSF tag for getting questions into the panel. Thanks, Jay. And I see that works, by the way. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Jay added that
Thanks,
recently.
Jay. Thanks, Jay. I think Jay's still asleep, but thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
There we go. And with just 10 minutes from now, Max, is the sun shining today in Florida?
right in our faces, Adrian. It is very bright, and as you can see, the rocket is pretty much backlit as a silhouette at the moment. But honestly, considering how the weather has been for the past couple of weeks, we are just happy to see some sunshine, even though it is going to get very, very, very warm today. But happy to see some sunshine.
Absolutely. You know what would be the best to have during heavy sunshine? A hat. We have new trucker hats available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com with the NSF Live logo, the Heavy logo, our NSF logo, or some Texas Tank Watchers. Now back again, our trucker hats. I think they're super, super great for these sunshine days in Florida, or maybe in Boca, or even in Germany. I can tell you, I'm very, very bad with like heavy sunshine, so I need to wear a hat when the sun is shining a lot. So yeah, that's totally a thing to protect yourself from the sun and also wear something very, very stylish. I love these NSF Live cap, by the way. I think that's my favorite. It's an absolutely cool thing. So if you want to have that, go over to shop.nasaspaceflight.com and get some trucker hats. There we go. Thank you so much. And now back to the launch. Thanks for assisting my segue there, Max.
I try for the best.
I'm proud of that. And with that, 9 minutes to go. Everything going well. Knocks on wood, or wood imitation thing that my desk is made out of. So let's see if this trend continues and we finally see some Kuiper satellites launch. Max, what do you have planned for today? What are you cooking up?
Just the usual Panasonic live view that you are looking at right now. D also has a couple of cameras out for two separate views. I have my Canon R5 set up in the background just to get some photos of it getting off the ground. Nothing too fancy today. Kind of limited on setup because early morning, and then we have a lot of other stuff to do today to make teardown just a lot easier and more time efficient. But we have 3 live views for everyone today, and obviously on top of the views that SpaceX is providing on their live stream. But still some really good stuff. Hopefully, if Falcon 9 gets off the ground, cross your fingers.
Absolutely. And Falcon 9 now 8 minutes away. And let's hope we don't hear anything about, oh, we have to watch the weather. And it's just smooth from now on. I'm not sure why I imitated that in that way. It's like, I understand that they stand down. I'm not sure why I said that. Anyway, Flipper is a team member here at McGregor Live, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Flipper is your team member over there. So thank you so much for that support. And also, while I see MGL, I want to quickly point out that, of course, if you like engines firing, McGregor Live is probably your best stream to watch, because they are firing a lot of engines there. So there we go. Alex, do we have you as well back here?
Yeah. Apparently now the weather is only 10% probability of violation, which means it is 90% go. Let's hope for the weather also being that well downrange. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And we are just, of course, just minutes away from that. And that 90% doesn't, of course, include the usual soft criteria. At this point, by the way,
it looks a lot better out there.
Ooh.
That's a short for Clavitas out there in the Atlantic Ocean.
That looks okay. I'm getting optimistic. I'm getting very optimistic, honestly. At this point, Max D, I wish you the best of luck, Max. I think at this point we have to let you go and let you track some rockets.
It is indeed that time, everybody. Thank you very much, and we will see y'all on the other side. Cross your fingers.
Will do. Let's hope you get something to track today. 6 minutes to go. Alex, what is the Falcon 9 doing at this point?
Well, they just wrapped up RP1 load on the first stage. Engine chill is underway, getting those engines ready for ignition, hopefully in a little bit over 5 minutes from now. After this, we should have in about 40 seconds or so the start of preparations for strong back retract. So they first pressurize the tanks for strong back retract. Then the strong back starts retracting about 30 seconds to a minute later. And that'll begin with the top clamps at the top of the strong back opening. And then they'll retract that structure about 1.8 degrees away from the rocket. At the same time, T-minus 3 minutes will be the liquid oxygen load ending on the first stage. And then T-minus 2 minutes, that'll be for the second stage as well, that liquid oxygen load ending. Hopefully, no shenanigans in between T-minus 2 minutes and T-minus 1 minute. They'll do all of the pushbacks and getting those lines cleared for launch. T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 goes into startup. That means the onboard computers will take over control of the countdown from the ground computers. And hopefully, a few seconds later, we'll get the go for launch from the launch director.
I'm just writing down people in the chat and on the naughty list because they are saying the S word.
No S word.
I see you all. Like, you always blame us here when we say the S word. I see you, chat. I see you saying it. So this is not on us today, if it's happening. I'm calling it. Let's see. 4 minutes to go. S for success. Yeah, sure.
That pool of oxygen there. Look at that. Or nitrogen. I don't know what it might be. Might be nitrogen. There we go. Clamps are opening.
Yeah, there it is. Watch it's the white clamps below the fairing, everybody. If you see that at the bottom, these are the clamps that are opening now. They are first very slowly to open, and then there we go. That's the strong back starting to retract.
And we should have liquid oxygen load finishing on the first stage in just a few seconds. By the way, you can see the deluge tank farm there on the top left, or sort of like to the left of the rocket. It's also very similar to the Starship one, which is like pressurized water pushed from storage tanks.
Every time SpaceX shows a pad up close, I'm like trying to spot something new. Look at that pit of nitrogen there at the bottom. Like, there's just a complete pit of nitrogen there. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane how these launch pads work.
And stage 1 liquid oxygen load is finished. So hopefully we are going to get next the second stage liquid oxygen load.
Absolutely. Of course, again, this is a new booster. This is a Falcon Heavy Center Core repurposed as a Falcon 9 single stick until it is needed for Falcon Heavy. This is B1091 with its first flight attempt.
And once it lifts off, it's going to head northeast. The booster will do a roughly 2.5 minute powered ascent. Separate, the second stage will ignite. We'll be burning that MVAC engine for about 6 minutes. The first stage will be returning for a drone ship landing on a shore of Gravitas.
There we go. 2 minutes. Everything looks good today.
Yep. Second stage liquid oxygen load is complete. So we should see that strong back vent, and there it is.
And we are, of course, so far still looking good. From what we can tell, SpaceX has not been monitoring weather with such worry as they have the last few days. So we are probably on a path here where we could see this thing launch in 90 seconds from now. But we'll wait and see. Of course, the Falcon 9 will perform some final checks before that when it moves over to startup, which is just 15 seconds from now. Let's hope we see a launch today. Falcon 9 will enter startup in 5 seconds from now. That is where the rocket computer takes over the launch countdown, which should have happened now.
It's in startup.
There we go. And the launch director will give a final go for launch in about 20 seconds from now. That is when the rocket will be signed off, and from there on out, it's only Falcon 9's show.
And there go for launch.
There we go. Let's get this thing in the air. After multiple attempts, After some weather issues, it looks like it is time to see Kuiper Mission 2 fly on B1091. Falcon 9 is basically ready for flight, being pressed for flight. 20 seconds from now, we'll see ignition and liftoff. Watch at the bottom of the rocket. There we will see the start of the plume. And that's 10 seconds. And we should see engine ignition any second now. That's engine ignition. And that is finally liftoff of Project Kuiper Flight 2, flying on B1091, a Falcon Heavy center core repurposed as a Falcon 9 stick. Let's listen in. That vapor cone. Holy. I'm already excited for the replays. That looked insane.
That was so good. I think I even saw the shadow of the rocket in that vapor cone.
I think we heard Max like doing an audible yeah when the vapor cone happened.
Should be close
That
to
was
Miko.
Really, really cool. Miko any second now. There it is.
There we go.
And that main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of the second stage. There it is.
And that brand new intrastage will get
Yeah, look.
all sooty. There we go. First layer of suit.
Oh yeah, it's visibly darker instantly. And there's the booster now flying back. Well, not flying back. Getting ready to land on ASOC.
And for this mission, they will not have coverage of the second stage flight. We can still see it though, here from the ground, thanks to our tracking.
Yeah, things you only see at NSF, still second stage flight.
They obviously have a lot of these big old tracking rigs at the Cape, so they have that advantage. It's too pricey for us.
There we go. There's the Falcon 9 coasting. Fairing separation should happen around now, which we cannot see, sadly, because they are not showing the second stage flight here.
And they have confirmed fairing separation. Those two fairing halves have flown for a 5th time, and the 28th time they'll be recovered by recovery vessel Doug.
There we go. Booster is about at apogee now.
Yeah,
close to it. Like, I think it's like 112, 113, right?
That's some interesting cloud patterns down there.
Absolutely. That's probably all the weather they really didn't want to hit. And the Falcon 9 is going down again. So, just 114 kilometers of altitude to go until the touchdown on ASOG.
And that one should be, by the way, if it is successful, that one should be the 120th landing on a chauffeur of gravitas.
Wonderful flight so far. The good thing about these Kuiper missions is, yes, I also would love to see the second stage, but at least we see the first stage like fully.
Yeah, at the very
That's
least,
kinda cool.
we still see the first stage flight.
Yep.
And those cables that you see there, those are usually connected to the MVAC engine when the two stages are connected, and they're flapping around because of course they have disconnected. But they are usually for purging, and for example, when they do the MVAC engine chill, that chill down needs to go somewhere, so they use those cables as well for that.
There you can now see the altitude rapidly decreasing.
Really cloudy down there. Look at that.
Yeah, they really have just probably like a small window there where they're aiming. And the entry burn is coming up. That will start to slow down the Falcon 9, or Falcon Heavy, whatever you want to call this. The Falcon 9 in this case, in preparation to hit the denser part of the atmosphere.
Here we go. Look at the grid fins. There we go.
That's one. And that's three.
And now more soot will be deposited on the booster.
And waiting for it going back to one. There's the shutdown to one. And that is entry burn shutdown. And now the booster has to go through the atmosphere itself. I think, Max, we have you back on comm. That vapor cone.
That vapor cone, baby.
That was quite something. I'm looking forward to see that again.
I'm kind of watching with nerves to make sure this booster gets down to shortfall of gravitas safely. Because first-time booster landings are kind of stressful, and also with it being a Falcon Heavy center core, it is also kind of stressful. Look at this, though, plummeting through the cloud layer.
Yeah, going through that layer. That was awesome. And there's another one. Look at that. That's another layer of clouds.
Approaching transonic speeds, and so we'll see some probably vapor. Here we go, right on
there.
it
is. Wow.
Look at that.
Quite a punchy re-entry on this one. And looks like it made it through stable. And here comes ASOG slowly. There's the interface for the entry for the landing burn. There's the adjustment. There's the landing burn. And correcting some rotation there, but looking good. Come on.
Under 1 kilometer in altitude.
And the drone ship should just appear down there. There it is. Appearing out of nowhere. Landing
There
like
the
deploy.
rollouts.
And touchdown of a Falcon Heavy Center Core cosplaying as a Falcon 9 today. Congratulations, B1091.
Cosplaying.
Sorry, I had
cosplaying.
I had to do it. Holy moly, I just saw a picture in the back channel.
It was a really, like, look at that. The engines are not even closed. Those legs. That was a smooth landing for that booster.
Very much
Those legs didn't even notice that landing.
And we are already in with the replays. Carson. Let's
go.
Just impressive. And that's, of course, the port. And there in the background, you can see the Falcon 9.
You can actually see it rising right next to Fleet 2, right there, right in the middle.
Yep. Small little bright spot rising. Wonderful. I always love that. Like, I feel like this is very representative of how it would look like in real life, right? So it's always a very cool perspective to add. And now entering the blue area of the sky, making it a bit more visible. And wonderful. I love this. The right side, of course, you can see the live pad view, which is already calm down. We'll get now ready for Starlink 10-20, 10-30, somewhere in there.
20, yeah.
There we go.
30 was the previous one.
The bird was just a paid actor there, basically.
Yeah, that bird was like, I will make this perfect. And wonderful, wonderful views here. There's the white shot.
Max, how does it feel having spent a week without any Falcon 9 launches?
Strange, I guess, could be said, but also equally feeling strange to have one scrub this many times in a row, and have this many, these. I can't English. Having so many early mornings stacked back to back to back is very exhausting, but is also very relieving to see Falcon 9 leave the ground today. It was very, very beautiful, and we have some more action of that vapor cone coming up, hopefully shortly.
I want to point out that I'm constantly being reminded here that we really should stay around for the slow motion replay, because apparently it's something you really don't want to miss. I kind of want to point this out for everybody here. I love that you can see a bit of a pitch over there. It's kind of cool.
This looks to be my track, and we may have audio at this. Oh, look at that. That's so pretty. Look at it.
I look at it. And we should now get the pickup, right? Where you go up and...
Yep, I was a bit late. Yeah, there we go. I was a bit late coming back to the camera.
Watch for the vapor cone here. Was that you, Max?
It may have been.
Could have been anybody, right?
Yeah, it could have been anybody. But I have a feeling whoever did that was expressing relief as well as awe for that wonderful vapor cone.
Absolutely. It's certainly a part of your being very happy that you don't have to wake up early tomorrow and late, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we still have lots more to do today. This just added to the itinerary, I should say. Because after this, we may be getting airborne for certain visuals for a certain video coming up, and then we have set up for Vulcan this afternoon. So, busy Monday here on Florida Space Coast, but it is just business as usual now for us.
I'm being informed by Chris Bergen that you have just been called a leaker.
Oh, look who's talking, Mr. Bergen.
Wonderful. And yeah, Chris is pointing out something he would never do. And again, we still have the slow-mo replay coming up here, and I'm excited for it. That's gonna be a good one. Let me thank some more people here quickly. Starting with Joe Pistrito, gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much. Then we have Telstar86. The only S we need today is the supersonic retropropulsion. We got that. Thank you so much for that. And then we have Christy also gifting 10 Red Team memberships. What a wonderful launch. I'm so happy. And with
Let's
that,
say it again.
yeah, maybe a bit later in the day. Max, that's it. Kuiper's in the air.
Kuiper is indeed in the air, and so is 1091. Finally, after a very long wait. But thank you very much to everyone who came out to hang out with us once again this morning. We certainly have a lot more coming up in the next few days, so we hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely, that was Max Evans today in the field together with D. Weiss, who was also in the field, and the slow-mo footage you're about to see is also provided by D. And then we had behind the scenes Carson and I think also Gage tracking with assets, and also Carson running the stream, making sure we sound good, we look good, and everything was well and working. Thank you so much for that, Carson and Gage. With me in the studio here today was Alex. Alex, thank you so much for being with me here today.
Thank you for having me, and at least this time I don't have any pesky brothers interrupting me my own outro.
Absolutely, we are glad for that. My name is Adrian Pyle. I was your host for today, also not interrupted by anybody. And with that, let's watch some slow-mo.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Echo down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage!
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?